We are going to try to fix our water pump. If we figure it out, and so can you. So, we gotta climb in here. There's the pump. There's the little glass filter. So you can see it's a pretty tight little space. So we're gonna climb in there and see if we can't just maybe just take the whole pump out, because there's pieces inside of it that could have gotten stuck. Hopefully we can get it out easy and then show you off that part. It's so tight. You can see how wide it is right here with me in it, and it's way back that way. So, should be interesting. We turned all the power off and the water. That way we don't get electrocuted or flood the bottom of this thing. So hopefully it's not that bad. So for a close-up, what we're trying to check is this filter to see if maybe the screen is clogged, and then hopefully take this whole piece out. And there's a button in here that sometimes gets stuck. That's as far as our YouTube research has gone.
Very tight space, but
woo!
He's got it out.
The screen looks pretty clean. There's no cracking on the case or anything. We also got the pump out. So apparently there's some, if you take the faceplate off, there's some buttons in here that could get stuck. Maybe be tied to this. So we're going to check to see if that works. I think Sarah's going to order a new one either way, just so we have one just in case. Hopefully we can get this one fixed.
So one of the things that I read to check, or that we watched to check, is this check valve to see if it, ouch, will go up and down. And as you saw, it was stuck. So apparently like calcium deposits and mineral deposits and stuff get in here and keep it from moving. So I think that's what it was. There's one other thing that I want to check. There's a switch in here that I want to check too, but I'm hoping that's what it was. This is some sort of diaphragm also that does something, and honestly I would be lying if I told you I knew exactly how all of it worked. But there's a switch in here that apparently does something that makes that happen. I don't know how do you tell if it's good or bad either though. But it's like $4, I know. You can look at them, and I think I want to open it up just to see what it is so that we can order some and have on hand since they're so cheap.
I'm trying to pry it open now because there's something in there that might have to do with the switch.
No, I know there's a switch in here.
That we don't know anything about.
I don't know how that came out. Did you see how it fell out?
No.
There it goes. So this is the switch.
How do you tell if it's working? So the noise we heard, was it working?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's...
Sounds like a good
weak.
clicker. Show them.
So this switch, this is a switch. If I can get it out of here, there's a part number on here.
I wouldn't get it out.
Well, it's apparently like one of the most common things, and I was going to take it off.
That's one way of breaking it.
There we go. There's a little hole right there I can stick my knife in. But, so, we can order this as a replacement. It's an Omron something or other. So that if it were to go out, we'd be able to get a new one. And apparently, like sometimes people will buy this whole assembly, which a lot of the time is either this or this that's actually got a problem. So that's why we're trying to look at it. Hopefully we're going to go and we're going to hook it back up and everything's going to work beautifully. Clint's not hopeful. I'm not even going to look at his face.
Like I always say, the important thing about our videos is that if we can do it, so can you.
Okay, so I've got that back together. It just snapped back in place. Didn't break anything taking it apart. There's the clicker that you hear. This is a little diaphragm that was over top of it. It's all nice and clean. Be careful pressing it. because it
Sarah
will.
just
Hold on,
flamed
wait. Let me check inside that. It's crazy because like it was stuck, but I don't see any gunk.
Oh, it just gets stuck. Spring
Yeah,
is wobble.
that's true. All right, everything's back together. Except that it wasn't. We forgot to put the diaphragm back on, which is unfortunate because we had originally forgot to take the switch out. So this will actually be the third time we put it all together. But we did get it all together eventually. So for whatever reason, the ones with the double washer go on the center of it all the way around. So we are going to, this has a couple of little things in it, so we're going to rinse it out before we reconnect everything. But we're going to reconnect it and do a test run and see if anything's changed. I'm also going to take a picture and order stuff. Just as a tip, if you have something like this and you are able to fix it on your own, if it's an affordable part, you might as well buy it, because if it breaks again, you'll have it on hand and you'll know how to fix it. So that's what we're hoping happens here, that it works, we know how to fix it, and now we have the parts if we need to replace it again. Yeah, absolutely. To get an RV Tech out, you're usually looking at around $200, $250, depending on where you are. I think this pump is about $75 on Amazon, because most of the time they're going to come and tell you, hey, you need to replace the pump, and they'll replace the whole pump. The little switch, I think, is $4, or, you know, maybe $5. If you wanted to do the whole top, I think it's $20 to $30. You know, so just saying, you know, I mean, sometimes these apparently have like a crack in them or something, and that might be part of your problem. I don't know how much they are, but I mean, it can't be $300 for this, you know, so I think it's well worth it to take it apart and see how it works and have a just in case drawer. So now I'm going to hook it all up. I'm going to hook it up without screwing it back down, just in case it is broken. So I'm just going to hook the water lines up, hook the wires back up, and then we'll run it through a cycle. And if it works, I'll come out and screw it back down. And if it doesn't work, then we will just leave it disconnected, I think, until we get the new one. Or we may leave it connected, but just not screw it in. So it seems crazy that I guess those screws aren't too long, but you could easily drill down into this gray tank or whatever it is. Yeah. Just unclip. I wonder if these are like in studs or something, because I don't know, that gray tank is off, or that's a black tank. That black tank is awfully close. I don't know. I really don't think it is, guys. That is so scary. The kids are literally right there in the mid bunk, right over there. So, did you hear that? I don't know what he just did.
The water pump's on. You ready for me to?
Yeah. Did you hear that? Something happened. You're gonna test the water right here.
Sure.
Okay.
Hey, Mommy. Hi, Mommy.
It's trying.
Is it working?
So he went inside to run water through all of the drains, or through all the faucets, I mean. I'll be honest with you guys, we have water in our fresh tank that we haven't been able to get out. I mean, I guess we could have drained it, but honestly, we just weren't thinking of it. So it's been in there for a couple of weeks now. We filled it up to sanitize it. We were going to put bleach in it and sanitize it, and then the stupid water pump went out. So I'm pretty excited. And you know, I think we may have kind of caused this ourselves. We don't know for sure. We turned the water pump on one time, and we're like, what in the world? It's not coming, it's not coming. And I think it was because we didn't have it filled up enough. Like, I think we didn't have enough water in it because we were just filling it up for a travel day. And so we don't like to put a lot in it, you know, because of weight. And I think what happened is we ran it like dry, I guess, and maybe that's what made the check valve stick. So now that we have our water pump fixed, we can sanitize our freshwater tank. So we have a bucket, a 5-gallon bucket here. We're gonna fill it with water. We're gonna put the appropriate amount of bleach in it for the size of our tank. We're doing 3/4 of a cup because we have a 48-gallon tank. since we live in the camper, our goal is to sanitize the tanks maybe once every 1 or 2 months, because we do fill it up every time that we travel for travel days. When we pull over to use the bathroom and things, we use the water out of the water pump. If we were to go to a new campsite and there were any kind of water issues, it's good to have water in our tanks, because then we would have water. Also, if there are any problems while you're at a campsite and the water goes out, it's good to have water, because then you have water. Now, if you just leave water sitting in the tank, though, it gets nasty, because it's just water sitting there. You know, there's no cleaning going on. It's just sitting in this tank. So we try to empty it out regularly, refill it regularly, and sanitize it every 1 or 2 months. We bought this piece of tubing from the hardware store, and Clint got this connector here. I don't think I have the paperwork that shows exactly what it is, but this is what we got, because they're apparently, I guess some campers, or I guess the camper is supposed to come with whatever to winterize, but we didn't have anything. Nothing came with ours because we bought it used, I guess. And then we've got this hose clamp on here. So he attached this. We've got it running down into our 5-gallon bucket, and he did have to lift it higher than the fixture here with the hose in the water to get it primed, to get the tank to start pulling it. So, something to keep in mind. Alright, take 2. Didn't prime the first time.
We're gonna figure it out, or be covered in bleach, one or the other. Our curly hose is giving us problem, is another part.
Look at there. It went immediately that time.
Fortunately, once it's primed, you don't have to hold it up there anymore. So.
Alright, so now he's going to take our little homemade hose off.
Also, I don't know if y'all's camper is like ours, but an elbow was not easy to find at the hardware store. But we need one because this light is in the way. It's like most of the connectors are straight. It wouldn't work right there.
Would have never thought of that. I would have come back with the straight one. Okay, now that that's on, he can turn it to tank fill, and because it has a cap on, the water's off, Okay, we already have about 5 gallons of water in the tank from the bleach and water mixture, so we decided we were going to add around another 40 gallons of water because our tank is 48 gallons. Alright, so we hit 40.3, and then the drain started dripping. I don't know exactly what that is. It's like an overflow thing. So it started dripping, so we turned it off. I'm going to turn it back to just city water hookup, and we're going to turn the water on normal for the night, and then before bed, we'll turn it back to system use to use the water out of the tank, and we'll run the water through the lines again so that there's bleachy water sitting in all of the lines tonight. And then when we get up in the morning, we'll show you what we do.
We just checked it for leaks. No leaks from the pump. So it looks like everything we did with the pump worked. It sucked in that stuff just fine. So hopefully tomorrow, after it's sat and it's cleaned everything, we'll be good to go.
It is now the next morning, so we have all the faucets going to drain all of the bleach water out of the tank. We're going to drain the freshwater tank. The exact process of what we'll do is we will run the faucets until the stream starts to get a little slow, because we do not want to run our tank dry with the water pump, get the water pump dry, because we think that's what caused that check valve to stick in the first place. So we'll run, eventually this water stream will get thinner and thinner and smaller and smaller. That's when you know, hey, I'm running low on water. Alright, so see how it's starting to sputter? That means the tank's pretty low. These faucets all only get about 1 gallon per minute coming out of them, so if you don't have all 3 turned on, you're looking at, however big your tank is. Ours is 48 gallons, so 45 minutes or so. So we turned on all 3. The faucet in the bathroom, the kitchen, and the shower. We did cold water because we're only wanting to empty the tank right now. Our hot water heater does have the bleach water sanitation mix in it because, I just wanted to go ahead and sanitize that too. It does need to be, there is some other maintenance that we need to do to the hot water heater but we're going to do that at a later date. So we do have it ran through there, but if I were to run my hot water out of my faucet right now, it would just fill back up from the tank. So it would just, you know, continually fill with the bleach water. So instead, we're going to wait until we are done with this flush, and then we'll hook up to the city water and flush out the hot water tank that way. So now, I'm going to send Clint outside to hook up the city water again, and I want him to fill the tank, maybe 30 gallons or so. Does not smell very bleachy at all. Yeah, so I think this might do it. We filled it up 30 gallons this time. So I think after we drain this, we may put like, I don't know, 15 or so in it and drain that. And then we'll leave it mostly dry. We put like 10 gallons or so in it to travel. So we'll probably do that when we're getting ready. We ran it one more time with 15 gallons. Clint is going to put a little bit more in the tank. There he goes. I am going to turn this on just to get the water pump back primed again. I don't know if it makes a difference, but we're going to do it. Just until the air's out of the line and, you know, it's running. And that's my signal to him to change it back over to city water. And he's going to take the cap off of the freshwater tank so that it can go ahead and drain whatever is left in there. Shouldn't be very much. Alright, so we know that this video got super technical. It was hard to be good videographers while we were doing this DIY stuff because we were into it. So we just wanted to do a little wrap up here, kind of break it back down for you, what we did with the water pump, so that, you know, it makes a little bit more sense, and that way if anyone has questions, you know, it might be easier to ask too, with us explaining the process a little bit better.
The first thing you need to do is shut off the battery disconnect. The power, I think, I'm not sure if that's required, we did it for safety purposes, and then shut off the water so that you don't have major leaks. Then you need to gain access to the water pump. For us, it was 4 screws, and then the wall in the underbelly could move over so we could squeeze through that really tight gap.
Squeeze.
Then we just had to undo 2 wires. One of them was crimped, so we needed pliers to get that one loose. The other one just unplugged. Then undo the water. I would get a towel just in case it leaks. And then it was really, ours is just 4 screws into the underbelly. And then it came right out.
So once we got it out, we checked that little clear plastic filter to see if there was anything in the filter itself, if there was any clogs, and to see if there were any cracks in it. Because I guess if there are cracks, you know, you won't get like
the suction.
Yeah, the suction that you need for it to work. You need to remove the 8 screws that are in the top of the housing piece in order to take that off. After that, we went ahead and took off the entire upper housing, that black part. We took that off to see if that check valve was able to move freely. The thing that had the spring that we pressed. That was what was wrong with ours. It was stuck. You saw in the video I pressed on it, it would not go at first, and then it popped through, and it was able to move freely after that.
The next thing to check is the switch, which is in the smaller section on top of the upper housing. Ours had 3 longer screws to take that part off, and that's where we got the little bitty switch out. And so you want to check to see, does that make the little clicking noise that Sarah did the entire video? Click, 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 click.
Did that bother anybody else?
It drove me crazy.
It was so satisfying. It was like a little fidget thing.
So you want to make sure that clicks.
And like it's supposed to have like a good healthy click apparently. Like it's not supposed to be like weak. Because I guess if it's weak, like it's called a pressure switch. Or maybe the entire thing is called pressure something or other. So like it's got to be strong enough, I think, to like either build the pressure or break the pressure, one of the two. So if it's weak, you know.
So if your clicker's like, that's not it. It's broken. Bonus tip. You don't have to do this, but you can take the switch out, take a picture of it, get the number, and I think it's like $5.
Yeah.
So if you have the problem again, you can just replace it. So that's what we did. Take pictures of everything so you have all the numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we looked into it, you know, because when we first started this, I told Clint, hey, if we do fix it, great, let's buy a couple of replacement parts. If we don't fix it, let's keep this for replacement parts and buy a new one. Luckily, it did fix. It's always good to have, you know, an extra $5, $10 part on hand if that's all it takes.
then you just put it back together. For us, it was 11 screws, and then you put it back on there. And also, I don't know if you could see, but that tank right beside ours is our black tank, and it had about this much room, so we put extra padding underneath it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll be necessary for you, but I would check before you put screws.
Yeah, we were really afraid that we weren't going to hit the same holes, you know, because it was a really tight space, and we tried to, but we were really afraid we weren't going to hit the same holes, and that all of a sudden we were going to smell black tank. So we put a little extra. We had like a doormat that we weren't using that was rubber, which is what the legs of the water pump are anyway. They're like a hard rubber. So we put that under it, gave us a little more cushion. We can hardly hear the thing running now. I mean, if you know what a water pump sounds like in your camper, it's pretty loud when it's going, and we can hardly hear it running now. So the insulation apparently helped to, you know, to do that.
So, and then you're done.
When we had the RV tech come out and look at our leak, we told him about the, you know, several things around here that, you know, that we just had questions about. But one of the things was the water pump, because we hadn't looked into it yet, but we were planning to, and I mentioned it to him and said, hey, what do you think? And he said, oh, you probably just need to replace it. And like he pressed a couple buttons. I don't know what he did, but he pressed a couple buttons outside and did a couple things, and he said, yeah, you just need to replace it. Which is fine if you're okay with that. If you're okay with, you know, just changing out parts, that's fine. You know, do that. We wanted to figure out what was wrong with it. We took it apart. We had everything turned off. It took us about an hour with kids running around and, you know, everything, and we had the thing fixed, and we were pretty pleased.